But may I have your date of birth and your social security number and your bank account and credit card numbers would also be highly appreciated. And maybe some insurance data. Any other personal information would be helpful. Oh, now, you would never give me that information because you don't want people to have access to your personal information. But a surprising thing is going on in America right now. The federal government is attempting to gain access to your information. So the prompt we'll be discussing today is, are states justified in resisting efforts to share voter data? We'll answer this question by looking at 3 points. First, the background to this story and what's going on. Second, we'll talk about concerning ideas that many people in America have been promoting about voting. And then third, we look at the solution to the current situation and to these troubling ideas about voting. Let's start with the background. States are resisting efforts to share voter data from the federal government. You see, the federal government, under Donald Trump and especially his Justice Department, has requested for every single state and the District of Columbia to send in voter data. CNN reports on January 13, 2026, that the Justice Department wants the state voter rolls in order to clean their own records. When 23 Democratic states refused to give all the data requested by the Justice Department sued them. As the CNN article noted, the reason the federal government is taking this action is because some federal laws do allow federal oversight in voter rolls. This doesn't mean that the federal government has full authority over this, as we'll see later in the speech, but it does mean that the federal government may inspect these voter rolls for certain inconsistencies, such as maybe illegal immigrants voting or states specifically disenfranchising black voters from these elections. NPR reports on September 10, 2025, that the Justice Department is trying to build a nationwide voter roll in order to more effectively inspect, again, whether or not certain groups are being disenfranchised or included in the voter rolls when they shouldn't. They say that Trump has also insinuated that he may use his executive power as president to try to ban certain concerning trends in voting. So we'll talk about that in our second point. What are these concerning trends in voting, and how does that relate to this story? Well, over the past few years, certain suggestions of how American voting should be changed have become more widespread. Obviously, the 2020 election was extremely controversial, with claims of a stolen election through mail-in voting and ballot counting systems were extremely prevalent. This is obviously a trend becoming more and more common, is the accusation that these new systems are causing fraud. Now, although there might not be sufficient evidence to prove that the 2020 election was stolen, one thing is true, and that is that the likelihood of fraud is increased with certain types of voting, such as online voting, which many have pushed. Online voting can be hacked or can be changed by a central authority. Another concerning trend that we see is the prevalence of mail-in voting. Many states now allow mail-in voting. This means you write your ballot while sitting at home and then send it in, and it's counted by election officials without you ever needing to go to an actual election facility. Now, this sounds like a great deal, but the problem here is that it decreases the actual effort you have to put into voting. And especially a problem with mail-in voting is its increased chance of fraud. Some states, such as California, allow mail-in ballots sent 7 days after the election concluded to still be counted. So that means 7 days after the presidential election, if my mail-in ballot arrives at the election facilities in California, it would still count. This obviously creates a massive incentive for fraud, because because it allows the outcome of elections to be changed days after it happens through mail-in voting. So these concerning trends are certainly a problem. And the true problem with these trends is we can see through the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. This is a proposed federal law, a proposed law that would be enforced by the federal government, requiring states to allow mail-in voting and mail-in ballots and online voting. So the problem here is the centralization of voter data. And that's the key thing that states are battling in this case. So what's the solution here? What do our founders say? We'll conclude on this note. Federalist 53, which was written by Alexander Hamilton, one of the American founders, so it's an essay on elections, he says that tyranny is checked by elections. So without elections, our officials can do whatever they want. And we don't have deeply centralized elections because that allows too much power for fraud. Instead, Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution gives states the power to choose the manner of election, not the federal government. And similarly, Article 4, Section 4, again reinforces that principle. States have power over how the elections are conducted, not the federal government. Although the federal government may currently be working within laws that are passed to clean the voter records, this is certainly a concerning trend. America should stay true to its Republican form of government instead of centralizing voter records.